Alright YouTube, what we're going to talk about today is what to look for when you're buying your 300ZX. Alright, so getting started, some of the first things you're going to want to do when you're buying your 300ZX or looking to buy a 300ZX, you're going to want to actually go ahead and look at the car real closely. A lot of the main problems with these cars have to do with rust in very particular locations. The Z31 chassis, although it was built a lot better than the earlier S30 and S130 chassis, they do still have their issues with some rust, mainly in the rear quarter panels, the rocker panels, as well as the rear of the floorboards right there behind the seat. And the reason for this is due actually to the T-tops, the rear side windows, the way they're sealed, as well as the tail lights. Nissan used a butyl style sealer in these locations for the windows and the rear tail light. And what happens is that butyl over time goes ahead and deteriorates and melts. And when that happens, it allows water seepage past these seals, and then you will go ahead and start getting moisture in your vehicle. Also, because Nissan used a jute padding underneath the rear carpet, that tends to go ahead and hold that moisture, and that starts the rusting process.
Alright, well, one of the first things I do when I come to a Z, I look at the outside of the body, mainly the lower quarter panels, the rocker panels. As you can see in these pictures here that I'm showing, this here is an 85 300ZX that I was looking at. The rocker panels don't show any rust. The rear quarter panels also look fairly rust-free. I don't see any rust anywhere in these. Next thing I would do is go ahead and open the hatch and make sure the toolkit parts are there, see if the carpet's damp at all, and then I would pull out the spare. The spare tire is located over on the right hand side behind the plastic cover. When you go ahead and pull out the spare tire, you'll want to go ahead and check the bottom of the spare tire well, make sure there's no rust, make sure the plug is still in place, the drain plug made out of rubber down in the lower spare tire well. At that point, I would go ahead and lift the toolkit back up, and that is very commonplace where you'll see surface rust, if not perforated rust or even rust holes. Another place where rust likes to hide is at the rear cross member mount on the Z31. Now, these two bolts that you see here do not actually hold the weight of the vehicle, it actually just holds the mount in place. It's a very common location because the T-top drain, if not sealed properly, will leak down into this location behind the rear driver and passenger seats and rust this floor area out. Once you go ahead and look for all the rust on the vehicle, you're going to want to head and take a look around, see if there's any other damage on the vehicle. Any body line gaps, any damage to fenders, bumpers, etc. The next thing I would want to do is go ahead and start the vehicle for the first time, making sure it was cold for the day. As you can see here, this vehicle actually is not wanting to start. That's a very common problem where it could be something simple as a mass airflow sensor or crank ankle sensor, coolant head temperature sensor. They're all common items that can be easily replaced and will make the vehicle run nice. As you can see here, we're missing the right hand switch pod that controls things like the wipers and the rear defroster and things like that. You're going to want to make sure you have oil pressure and that your volts are right around 14. If you have this, then you know the motor's running, has good pressure, and that the alternator is charging. You're going to want to run the vehicle until you reach operating temperature, which is right at the degree symbol on the F. At this point, you can then go out under the hood, check to see how the motor's running, make sure you don't hear any strange noises, belts squealing, make sure there's no misfires, etc. Big thing on these cars are vacuum leaks. If you can tell here, there's quite a few vacuum lines on the Z31, and they run pretty much everything from the heating and AC to the fuel pressure regulator, EGR, etc. On digital dash cars, you may want to go ahead and do a dash test. This is easily done by holding the reset buttons, and this is what you'll see. All of the displays should light up for you. If they do not, then there could be a problem with the dash itself or the dash power supply. If it's a dash power supply, it could be easily fixed. I have write-ups on the website here at XenonZcar. I'll put links down in the description below here.
Easy.
Another thing you can do is to take the vehicle to a shop where there's a lift available. This way you can inspect the underside of the vehicle for any damage, such as frame rail damage from jacks being used improperly on the frame rail, as well as looking for any damage to the rear cross member mount. While you're under here, you also may want to check the rear cross member bushings, the rear control arm bushings, as well as the front control arm bushings and sway bar end links. These are all commonly worn and do have polyurethane replacements available. So if everything checks out with the Z31, you go ahead, make your purchase, and take it for a nice, enjoyable ride. If you have any questions about buying a Z31, feel free to go ahead and get on our website, XenonZcar.com. I have a buyer's guide, as well as a whole bunch of other information on things to look out for when buying your 300ZX, and very common issues, major fixes, and lots of modifications that you can do to these vehicles. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and subscribe and give me a thumbs up.